So whether you're a graphic designer, an artist, future architecture student, or someone who's just interested in bullet journaling, architectural letter forms are among the clearest handwritten styles that you can learn. So in this video, I'm going to teach you how to write like an architect, and you'll learn all the stylistic hallmarks. So be sure to grab the free PDF download that I have linked up in the cards or the description down below. That'll help you get started in developing your own architectural lettering style. There's just a couple of things you need. No triangles or anything, no special tools. The only special thing you might want to pick up is a roll of tracing paper. So architects use this in the studio all the time. It's translucent, so you can trace over things. And what we do is we layer this upon layer and create sketches that are different iterations of design ideas. Works great for practicing your lettering because it's translucent. So you can layer it over the lettering worksheet that I've created, and you can download these for free. Check the link in the cards and the description below, and that has blank sheets and also sheets that have some of the letter forms written out for you so you can trace over them. So the important part about the media that you use is that it's very smooth. That's going to allow you to create the letter forms very easily. The nice thing about using the trace and the layout sheet here, the lettering worksheet, is you don't have to go and create the guides yourself. More traditionally, you may have to go and strike out guidelines on your page, and that may be true if you're doing this on another piece of paper or something that's not translucent. So we've got our media worked out. Second thing you need to pay attention to is the pen that you're going to be using, or pencil. You can use a mechanical pencil. This has a little bit more friction to it, so I wouldn't suggest starting here. If you're using trace, the best combination I've found is the Sharpie Ultrafine Point. This is a felt tip pen. You can also use a Pilot Razor, a Copic multiliner. Any felt tip pen will do. Great thing about this is that it just has the right amount of drag on the page. It's not too sticky, so it'll be easier for you to write with it. Let's talk about the hallmarks of the style. First thing is proportion. It wants to roughly be a square proportion, so as wide as it is tall. The endpoints of your letter forms should overlap just slightly, and this allows you to not only create a more precise letter form, but also allows you to move more quickly as you get up to speed and you get more practice with this. Overlapping those edges will allow you to just move more quickly. Last thing we can talk about is how the horizontals have a slight uptick to them, and we'll talk about each letter form individually, but you can see it's about as wide as it is tall, and we're working to overlap here. When you're practicing these letters, and we get onto the B here, you're going to start with the vertical strokes first and then move to the horizontal. So vertical, and you'll notice here this is a sort of squashed ellipse that forms the top part of the B, and the bottom part is a little bit wider. Again, that square proportion. And you'll notice that they fit into a family of forms. So that looks like a P, could also be an R. We're using it to form our B. So you want to be thinking about these letters as part of a family of forms, okay? And work to achieve legibility, consistency, and clarity. The C form is more of a squashed ellipse that you don't finish, so they almost meet, and it's almost like it has some directionality to it. The D is a vertical stroke, a little bit of a horizontal, and then down to the baseline. Keeping that square proportion. The E and the F are very similar. Vertical stroke, horizontal, always have a slight uptick. Now with the E, I like the top stroke to be short, the middle stroke to be the longest, and then the bottom stroke to be slightly shorter than that. Keeping with our family of forms, the F, very similar to the E. Whatever you choose to do with the E, do with the F. The G is a C with an arrow. C is a tricky one. The H, you have some decisions to make. Either the H, the cross is in the top third of the H, or it's in the bottom third. So see which you prefer. The I can also be confused with the 1. It's fairly straightforward. I don't draw the I and the 1 differently. Some people draw the 1 with a little tick on the top. Because when I'm drawing ones, I'm usually drawing 1 foot 4 inches, something like that. So it makes sense. I'd never mistake this for an I. J is a vertical with a hook. This hook is very similar to the angle on the D. The K again is a top third, down to the baseline, vertical, top third, down to the baseline. The L is going to be very similar to the U. And as you write this faster, you'll probably just hook around the corner as opposed to doing two separate strokes, but it's good to get used to doing two separate strokes. The M I form by coming all the way down to the baseline. Some people stop short of it. This is one of the widest letters. The N is not quite square. That's another one of those ones. It's not quite as wide as the N. The O is our ellipse. P is the first part of the B. Some people make the P like this, more horizontally configured. That's fine. You'd do the same for the B if you chose to do that. The Q is our ellipse with a foot. The R starts as a P. Here again, you may see other styles that go for more horizontal treatment here. Up to you. The S can be tricky, and I go really slowly on the S when I'm learning. Keep it nice and wide. Even proportions. The T, slight uptick on the horizontal. The U is like an L with a vertical. V is like your A without the crossbar. The W is similar to an M, but the vertical is canted very slightly. The X, nice and broad. Make sure to hit the baseline. That first one there was not hitting the baseline. The Y we're hitting in the upper third. So it's like a flattened V. And then the Z, you can choose to add the cross piece or not. Briefly talking about numbers. 1 is easy, you can add the tick at the top or not. 2 is a big arc, short horizontal. 3, you want to keep the upper ellipse, clipped ellipse in the upper third. 4, we come down to the lower third. 5 is a short vertical stroke, large arc that shouldn't come back to the vertical, and then a short horizontal. You see how that has some directional axis there. 6 is like a C, and you loop back to the baseline. A 7, we impart that slight angle again. I don't use the cross hash mark, but you can. 8, again, in the upper third with that top ellipse. And the 9, you have two options. The one that I do is almost like a P, a mirrored P. The other option is to do an inverted 6. I just find that slower to make. Best way to practice numbers, using your numbers, is in dimension strings. So if you have an actual sketch or a drawing, come into that drawing and start putting some dimension strings so you can practice kerning the numbers. That's in practice how you'll be using these, typically on sketches. So one of the best reference books, and this is from my days in school, this is by Frank Ching, Architectural Graphics. This is a fantastic reference book, and he hand letters this entire book. The whole thing is just done in his handwriting. So it's great for learning graphic conventions, but it's also an excellent reference standard for architectural hand lettering forms, and you can use these to trace over and copy. He's got a really beautiful style, so you can look at his numbers and his alphabet. I'll link this one up in the cards so you can find it on Amazon. So now that we have the computer and access to any font we could possibly want, why even bother investing the time it takes to learn how to letter by hand? Well, they say handwriting is autobiography, and I think it's so true. As visual communicators, whether you're an architect, an artist, graphic designer, student, I think it's important that you understand how handwriting forms your personal visual style. This is just a means of communicating your ideas to other people, whether you're in a client meeting or you're sketching in your sketchbook or you have a personal journal. I think developing a handwriting style that's neat, legible, and consistent is important. So good luck. Practice, practice, practice.